Hello friends, today we will be continuing the discussion on cardiovascular physiology. And yesterday we said that if we put any sort of a resistance, and we had given this example that if you put any sort of a resistance, for example any vasoconstriction action, what will happen is upstream pressure, that is the P1, we took P1 as upstream pressure, it goes up, and downstream pressure goes down. Downstream pressure goes down. Okay, isn't it? So now we made a generalization, we made a concept that we have to remember three things in hemodynamics, that is pressure, flow, resistance, and their relation mathematically can be calculated by delta P is equal to Q into R. So we said change in the pressure, that is P1 minus P2 is equal to Q into R. P minus P2 is equal to Q into R. Q is equal to P1 minus P2 divided by R. This was the concept. Okay. Now see guys, this was the Poiseuille equation. Um, how to calculate? Like what is P here? What you are taking this P? We are taking it as this pressure is called effective perfusion pressure, not actually P. The difference of P1 minus P2. The difference of P1 minus P2 is actually effective perfusion pressure. Effective perfusion pressure. If I tell you effective perfusion pressure, P is equal to P1 minus P2. This is the effective perfusion pressure. Effective perfusion pressure. Now, if I take the values, see how they calculated it. How they calculated. They said, for example, you have two ends of this vessel. Okay, you have two ends of this vessel. Once you have a pressure difference, if you keep normally at home also, if you keep a pressure difference, on something, what will happen? That pressure difference will draw the fluid in this vessel. That is that force that will help, that will behave as a force that will push this blood through this vessel. Okay, so first you have to make a pressure difference. Because if you have two pressures, which are equal, if I had taken this as P and this also as P, that means P is equal to P, no flow will happen, no change. But once I am taking P1 and then P2, it means P1 is one pressure, P2 is another pressure, and we described it as a change in the pressure. That is, once you have a gradient, I can say this is a pressure gradient. If you have pressure gradient, there will be flow. Okay, for example, you want to supply water to your pipelines at home. What do? You keep one thing at high pressure, isn't it? You keep one place at high pressure, and then you are giving this to the supply. It's then only possible, the flow is then only possible. So for an effective perfusion pressure, once you want a effective perfusion, there should be a pressure difference first. This effective perfusion pressure will draw this blood flow into this column. Okay. This is actually an application. The equation which we drew, the equation from P1 minus P2 which we drew, this equation is basically the equation in the physics, that is Ohm's law. Ohm's law of resistance, isn't it? We had Ohm's law. We are using that equation here. Okay. Because what does Ohm's law saying? I remember, I think from the physics, V is equal to IR. This was the Ohm's law, isn't it? V is equal to IR. Simple concept. Okay. Now, if I put this Ohm's law in the circulation, physics in circulation, then I have to change the values. I will keep blood flow. Blood flow is Q, isn't it? Blood flow is Q. Then I say what? Yeah. P will be effective. perfusion pressure, effective perfusion pressure, and R will be the resistance. R will be the resistance to blood flow. R will be resistance to blood flow. Is it clear? Yeah. So if I express this pressure, if I take this pressure in units is equal to mmHg. If I take this pressure as mmHg, can we understand the analogy? Can we understand the analogy that we are taking here velocity, here we take flow, here we were taking what? Resistance, here we are taking resistance of blood vessel. I think it's common sense that you can apply it, isn't it? So P is equal to I will be taking in mmHgs, and flow Q I will be taking in ml per second, and resistance will become resistance units. Okay. So for example, I have 100 resistances. I will say 100 R. Resistance is 6 R. Resistance is 5 R, like that. Okay. Now you are saying, sir, the whole blood flow in 1 minute in your body, in your total circulation is 5000 ml per minute, or you call it 5 liter per minute. In 1 minute, you have 5 liters of blood flow. Beautiful. In 1 minute, you have a total overall blood flow in your total circulation is equal to 5 liters per minute. This is called cardiac output. This is called cardiac output. This value is equal to cardiac output. Okay. Because why this is called cardiac output? Because this will be the amount of blood which will be ejected, which will be pumped, which will be systolized into the systemic circulation by the heart into the aorta. So this will be because who is pumping? It's all about heart, isn't it? And it's the left side of the heart, and in that left side, that to a left ventricle, isn't it? So if I take whole of the heart right now, because I have to talk about a cardiac output 5 liter per minute, so I have to say whole cardiac output. Okay, so it's blood pumped by the aorta, okay, by the heart into the aorta, by the heart into the aorta, by the heart. This is the best word we can use. Into the aorta, by the heart. Is it clear? But per minute, that means right now it's 12:53. 5 liter have been pumped. Okay, now again 54. 5 liter will be pumped. How we will understand, guys? So one minute total 5 liter will be pumped, and then second minute total 5 liter will be pumped. Third minute, see the beauty, 5 liter per minute, guys. Okay, is it clear? So if I give you a, if they ask you a question, for example, they tell you there is a patient, there is a 50, or I say there is a 15-year-old patient. Okay, let me take, there is a or 20-year-old patient. There is a 20-year-old male, and he is doing, he is just gossiping with friends, and his, muscular blood flow is like 200 ml per minute. Okay, and his mean arterial pressure is 100 mmHg. I am giving an example, and this was about the arterial pressure. His muscle venous pressure is 5 or 6 mm. Muscle venous pressure is 5 or 6 mm. Let us take 6 mm. Okay, 6 mm. Calculate the resistance in the muscle of this man. Simple concept, simple. LKG student will also solve this. What is the answer? So what we will do resistance is equal to P1 minus P2. P1 minus P2 divided by R. What is P1? P1 will be also always I. It will be 100. 100 minus P2 will be 6. P2 will be 6 divided by resistance will be, what is the resistance? What is the resistance, guys? We will find. Okay. The answer, the concept here to be applied is you are getting resist. You are using which we are taking flow. We are taking flow. Yeah, we are taking flow. Okay. Do we remember this? Okay. So Q is equal to. So here I will take. Sorry, I have taken a wrong. And now I will be taking R is equal to 100 minus 6 divided by Q. R is equal to 100 minus 6 divided by Q is, now I will be using 200 per ml. Okay, this will become something around 96 by 200 ml mmHg, because you are using resistance. You are making resistance, guys, per ml per minute. You have to write all the units per ml per minute. Is it clear? Is it clear, friends? Do you now know application, how to apply this concept? Because numerical 2 or 3 they ask in the exam, so that you know exam keeps on going in a smooth way. That's the purpose. Okay. No, exam should not be only boring, only one thing to be asked. It should be multiple. Your brain should be used. Every brain should be checked. No, every intellectual ability or cognition, everything should be checked. So we have to mix it. Now, so we use this velocity concept, velocity of blood flow. I hope you know this now. Now, if I take again this equation, so if I rearrange this equation, I take V is equal to Q by A. Can I take V is equal to Q by A? Can we know V is equal to Q by A, where Q is the blood flow and A is the cross-sectional area. A is the cross-sectional area, V is the velocity. Can I express this in this equation? Yeah, we'll express this in equation. So we have to understand this equation. You know this already from the physics, but here I want to have to say. So that means this velocity of blood flow, velocity is directly proportional to blood flow. It is directly proportional to blood flow. Velocity is directly proportional to blood flow. Okay, and inversely proportional to cross-sectional area, and inversely proportional to cross-sectional area. It means when I say directly proportional, that means if I increase one thing, I will be increasing from this side also. This is the concept. And if I say something is inversely proportional, it means if I increase something from this side, this will get decreased. If I decrease something from this side, this will get increased. Is it clear? So proportionality concept is directly proportional. It means one quantity increased, another will be increased. If we say inversely proportional concept, one will be increased, one will be decreased. Inverse. Okay, there is nothing more to speak about this, because some people keep on saying lecture this for 1 or 2 hours. There is nothing. It is smart, simple. Once increased, one decreases. That's it. So velocity is directly proportional to the blood flow, but inversely proportional to cross. That means if you increase the cross-sectional area, velocity will decrease. If you increase the cross-sectional area, velocity will decrease, guys. Now I will be telling you an example. Now tell me, aorta. Aorta is a small cross-sectional area or large cross-sectional area? Aorta. Only one aorta we have. Small, very nice answer. Small. We have, sir, only one aorta. How it can, aorta only one. So cross-sectional area, total we have to take. Total cross-sectional area is 1. Means only one we have. That is the cross-sectional area is small. So we will say aorta is equal to small cross-sectional area. Aorta is equal to small cross-sectional area. Now I bring all the capillaries of my body. Bring them. I add them, all the capillaries, they will become a large. So all the capillaries, guys, all the capillaries, guys. I bring all the capillaries and then I say, tell me. Then you say, sir, the cross-sectional area has increased. The total cross-sectional, it is maximum actually. Very nice. Cross-sectional area has increased. Now tell me one thing. Which of the following will have more velocity? Which of the following, number one, number two, more velocity will be in the aorta? So can you thank the God that he has beautifully designed you in the sense that aorta has to have the high velocity so that the things can reach faster, while as capillary should have less velocity so they can control. The blood flow remains controlled. Okay, so that you can effectively exchange the things, because at which place you want to exchange, you are exchanging the oxygen and carbon dioxide at the aorta level or at the capillary level, the tissue level. We are exchanging the oxygen, carbon dioxide, all the exchange is happening at the tissue level. That means I should give some time. I should give some time to the capillaries so that they can easily get the oxygen and carbon dioxide. They can exchange and then they can bring back that to the heart. They can bring that venous return, effective venous return to the heart. This is only possible when I give time for these capillaries to exchange the blood, this gaseous exchange, sorry. So that means the concept of resistance is important in the exchange of. That's why I told you any hemodynamic disturbance will be affected if the pressures, flow, resistances are affected. That's what we are treating the blood pressures in the hospital. Once a patient comes to me, what do I think? I will speak of me. If I see a patient, he has a rise in the blood pressure. I see 140 by 90 systole. I have to target this blood pressure. He is having no history of diabetes mellitus. He's having no history of hypertension. He's having no history of any chronic kidney disease. He's having no history of any other chronic disease. What I do, my target blood pressure right now will be 120. I will be bringing his blood pressure 120 because he is not a regular hypertensive patient. So once he comes to me, all the systems in my brain gets activated. Once I see his face, he has flushing. Once I see him, he has some sort of a headache also. Once I see his pulse, the pulse is more. Pulse is more. And once I see his, from up to down, then I see, oh yeah, total peripheral resistance may have got increased. That is, the blood pressure will increase. RAS will be activated right now. Okay, RAS will be activated now. RAS will be activated or ANP will be activated. ANP will be activated because ANP tries to lower the blood. Body tries to get rid of the fluids, isn't it? Then I think, yeah, if I have to decrease the resistance, I will decrease the resistance, flow will increase. And then RAS system will be, what guys, RAS system will be inhibited. RAS system will be inhibited. And also all those aldosterone, all those fluid retention agents, they will stop. This is where we apply this concept. Pressure, flow, resistance. Pressure, flow, resistance. Since my first year childhood, I have been learning this like this. Hemodynamics, pressure, flow, resistance. This is all hemodynamics you have to study. So that means aorta has a small cross-sectional area. That means the velocity of the blood flow will be higher. While as if you compare all the capillaries, you take all the capillaries, add them up, which of the following do you think, if I take all these arteries, aorta, arterioles, capillaries, venules, veins, vena cava, spiral vena cava, and then all the things coming to the right heart, what do you think? Who is playing the game? Who is the main game player of resistances? It is the radius, vessel radius. Remember the concept. The resistance will be determined by the key player, the key game changer, the mastermind behind this resistance is vessel radius. Remember this concept. Vessel radius, guys. That is the R. This R is important. This R is important. Okay. Now listen to my concept. What happened yesterday in this vessel? What happened yesterday in this vessel? When you tried to change the radius, what happened to the upstream pressure and downstream pressure, guys? What happened to the upstream pressure and the downstream pressure? Upstream pressure went up. downstream pressure went down. Upstream, no, don't say increase, decrease, say up, down, so that you remember. Upstream pressure goes up, downstream pressure go down. Is it clear? You can use increase, decrease, I have no problem, but I am just making things so that it can be, in your brain every time. Okay. So what will finally happen to the blood flow? It decreases the blood flow. It decreases the blood flow. Why? Because you have increased the resistance, things will not flow. Why this happened? Now tell me one thing. You have a vessel in your hand, and you have put the resistance in this place. You have to put resistance in this place. What will happen? No fluid column will come here. Whatever is the pressure, it will start dripping down because you have supplied the blood to these regions. You are supplying the blood to the future tissues. The pressure will dip, the P2 will dip, and here pressure will start accumulating, back pressure, upstream pressure will start going up. It's simple concept we have been doing since our childhood. So resistance, if you are increasing the vessel radius, upstream pressure will go up, downstream pressure will go down, flow will decrease. You have to say every concept, pressure, flow, resistance. Can we see how I am using the terminologies? Listen to my words, what I am speaking. You see how much I am speaking. The reason is I have to explain I have to have an eye on every concept, on every component, on every hemodynamic component. I am keeping an eye. I am thinking, yeah, vessel radius increases, pressure flow, pressure increases, backflow, upstream pressure goes up, downstream pressure goes down, flow will decrease. I explained all the three terms in every sense? Am I touching every term? Guys, please have a you should use your brain. That's why I told you have to revolve your hemodynamic concept around these three circles: pressure, flow, resistance. Pressure, flow, resistance, guys. Pressure, flow, resistance. Is it clear? Second concept, guys. If I decrease the resistance, what will happen to the upstream pressure? If I decrease the resistance, now resistance, not resistance, radius. If I decrease the radius, or if I decrease, that will also increase the resistance. So I will say if I decrease the resistance, what will happen? I will increase the downstream pressure now, but the upstream pressure will decrease. Upstream pressure will go down, downstream pressure will go up. If I decrease the resistance at this point, upstream pressure will go down, downstream pressure will go up, downstream pressure will go up, guys. Is it clear? Downstream pressure will go up, downstream pressure will go up, but only if I'm decreasing the resistance. Okay, how much was the resistance? Yes sir, we can calculate whatever is the drop of the this upstream and downstream pressure, you can get that resistance. Okay, now tell me, if I say I have a high resistance, if I have high resistance, guys listen to my words, if I have high resistance, can I say, if I have high resistance, can I say the pressure drop? This is called the pressure drop, isn't it? What is drop? Let me first explain. Drop means when you are comparing this pressure and this pressure, when you are subtracting them, in short, when you are subtracting them, that will itself be equal to the resistance. That will be itself equal to the resistance, because whatever resistance you are applying, you are creating the difference. If I'm increasing the resistance, that means will I be doing a big drop or small drop? I am increasing a very big resistance. Am I increasing the drop or decreasing the drop? Am I having big drops or small drops? Very nice answer. So I am having big drops. So this is called, if I increase the resistance to such a high level, that will finally give me the increased, or we don't call it, we say big pressure drops. Okay, fine. You have increased the resistance so much. Let me take this today. You have increased this so much. You have narrowed this so much that you have only allowed a small amount of, so pressures will start increasing to a high level. Pressures, the upstream pressure will go up, downstream pressure will go so much down. Upstream pressure will go so much up and downstream pressure will go so much down that you will be having a big drop. This is called a big pressure drop. While if you only give a slight or a little resistance, it means I will be having small pressure drops. I will be having small pressure drops, or you can use in your language, draw, decrease, increase, down, up. But we are saying big drops, big pressure drops. Don't think it's something drop. It drops. Okay. Don't think it's something drop. We are taking some fluid drop, one drop, two drop. No, it's just we are saying how much is the fluid pressures, how much is the pressure dropping. Okay. Now tell me one thing. Um, who is the main site of increased resistance? Who is the main site of increased resistance? No, it is the arterioles. It is the arteriole. Arteriole is having the highest resistance. Arteriole is having the highest resistance. I told you last time, isn't it? Arteriole is having the highest resistance. So what will happen? Can I say arteriole will control all that resistances? Can I say the radius of the arteriole, whatever the radius of the arteriole is there, if I change any luminal size of this arterioles, I will be directly affecting the pressures. I will be doing the same concept, upstream pressures and downstream pressures, guys. Is it clear? So arteriole will be the key player even in this system. I'm not saying others will not be there, but we are saying from the concepts yesterday that the highest point of resistance is the arteriole. That means if I give even a small change, if I only little change, if I give a small, we had a graph in the last time. I think we had a graph. We used to make a this like a this graph, and then we used to decrease the like this. So we used to put arterioles in this region. We used to put arterioles in this point, arterioles. So that means, can you check if I take this as aorta? Yeah, if I take this as aorta, okay. So can we see how much is the difference? Can we see if I change the pressure at this point, see how much difference I can make? Can we understand the concept? See, if I change the pressure here, no problem, no problem, no problem. Again, I am at the level. If I change the pressure, I will be doing a sinusoidal movement, guys. I will be doing a sinusoidal movement. I will not be having any problem. Is it clear? Okay. So I will be at this graph only. But once I start going towards the arterioles, even if I change a small amount of pressure, that will give me a big difference. So that means where will I be showing the big drops? At the arterioles in this graph or at the aorta? Bigger drops, guys, bigger drops. Even if I change the highest resistances, if I narrow the resistances, no, not narrow the resistance actually, increase that radius. So can we now understand what is the concept behind this? Okay, clear? Is it clear? So if they ask you, uh, if they ask you what equation of physics are we using in this blood flow equations, in this hemodynamics, you should remember first Ohm's law. Ohm's law. Okay. In Ohm's law, what you are taking flow is equal to current. In Ohm's law, I should make you write this. In Ohm's law, you are taking current equal to flow now. Here you are taking flow. In Ohm's law, you are taking current. In Ohm's law, you are taking what? Voltage. You were taking voltage. Here you are taking what? Pressure. Here you are taking pressure. Is it clear? Now there should not be any doubt. Some people had doubt. So flow, you are taking here, there you used to take current, here you are taking flow. There you used to take voltage, here you are taking pressure. Is it clear? If they ask you a question, who is driving the blood flow, what you will say? Who is driving the blood flow? Which of the following components is driving the blood flow? You will be writing delta P, P1 minus P2. P1 minus P2 is drawing the blood flow. P1 minus P2 is drawing the blood flow. Okay. Once you create this gradient, a high pressure and a low pressure system, what will happen? Flow will happen. Flow will happen. And if you increase the resistance of the blood vessel, what will happen? Flow will decrease or increase? Flow will decrease. Flow will decrease. Okay. Fine. Is it clear? Is there any doubt, guys? Now, guys, look at me. If I talk about a resistance, there is an equation in the resistance. We have a equation that I told you yesterday. It was the Poiseuille equation, isn't it? What is the actual Poiseuille equation? Let us draw it its clear form, because they will be asking you, they will be taking the viscosity component. Okay, so Poiseuille equation. Poiseuille equation, basically, what is Poiseuille equation? If they ask you, why are we using this? Poiseuille equation tells you which things, listen to my word, which factors, which things, which components, which parts of your hemodynamic system can affect the resistance. What did I say? Poiseuille equation, it says, it tells you, it gives you the information, it makes you literate about the concept that which factors, which components can affect, listen to my words, affect. Affect means, that means there will be something will go high, something will go up. I did not say anything that high or up. I say affect. That means change. Which things can affect, which things can change the resistance in the blood vessels. Is it clear? So the equation he gave was R is equal to, let us take a different color. R is equal to 8 eta L by area. Let me take pi r square, pi r raised to the power 4. So R is equal to 8 eta L divided by pi r4. What is R? R, you know, it's the resistance. It is the resistance. 8 is numerical. Eta is viscosity. We represent viscosity by eta. Viscosity of the. So L is the length of blood vessel, guys. L is the length of blood vessels. Okay. It is the length of blood vessel, and R is the radius of blood. This quantity you have to remember, guys. This quantity you have to remember. This is the radius of blood vessel. This is the radius of the blood vessel. Now tell me one thing. I will tell you one concept. In the exam, he will ask you this and this. What? They will ask you this and this. They will ask you, what is the relation of radius to resistance? See, capital R is resistance, remember. Sir, how do I remember which is radius, which is R is big? So think something like resistance. Okay, R is big, think something like resistance, because R is equal to resistance. R is equal to resistance, and small r is equal to radius. Radius is how many letters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Radius is 6 letters, and resistance is many letters. So resistance should be capital R. The head should be, because he's more, so he should be head. Okay, capital. Okay, don't confuse this thing. Now radius, remember a concept, guys. Radius is inversely proportional to, resistance is inversely proportional to radius to the power 4. This, remember this concept. Now listen to my words. If you change, now listen to my words, guys. See the beautiful generalization, guys. Now, if you go into this concept, what is proportional right now? I will take this concept. This radius, this resistance is directly proportional to viscosity. What is viscosity? The nature of the blood. Is it more viscous or less viscous? That is, whether it is like a honey or is it like a water? Is it like a honey or is it like a water? If it is more dehydrated, if you have more amount of fluid loss, or you have less amount of water component in the blood, you will say it is more viscous. Or if you have more amount of cells, you have polycythemia vera, no, that will also cause what? That will cause more viscosity, increase in the viscosity of this blood. Okay. Now you have increased the hematocrit. You have increased the hematocrit. Now tell me one thing. You have increased the viscosity. What will increase? What will increase? You have increased this viscosity. You will be increasing the resistance. You will be increasing the resistance. That's a beautiful concept. See the Poiseuille genius. My salute to him. See his relation. Okay. And what will be effect on the blood flow? You increase the resistance, you increase the viscosity. Please listen to the words again. You increase the viscosity, you will be increasing the resistance. What will happen to the blood flow? Blood flow will decrease. That's a beautiful answer. Blood flow will decrease. So do you think a person of anemia, sorry, a person of polycythemia or a person who is dehydrated, don't you think he will have the flow affecting his brain, his heart, his kidneys, his lungs? Don't you think it is affecting his oxygen supply also? Because flow is not happening. That's a beautiful concept. Flow is not happening. I'm applying this concept now. Now, length of the blood vessel. If you increase the length of the blood vessel, you will be increasing the resistance. You will be increasing the resistance. If you increase the length, you will be increasing the resistance, directly proportional. Now, this is what I have to explain. This radius to the power 4. Now, listen to my words. The concept here right now is telling me that the resistance is inversely proportional. Isn't it inversely proportional to the radius to the power 4? Radius to the power 4, that is the fourth power of the radius. The vessel radius fourth power, meaning thereby this relationship is going to be very much hard strong. Why, sir? We see in some language, we say farz kare, isn't it? They say in some languages farz kare. So if we do farz here, if we do farz here, what will happen? If I increase the value, let me change this radius value by simple 2. This is the simple layman example. Let me substitute the value of this radius by 2. R is inversely proportional to. R is inversely proportional. What is the value of radius? It's 2. 2 to the power 4. That means we have to 4 times multiply 2. 2 2s are 4, 4 2s are 8, 8 2s are 16. Oh my God. It's inversely proportional to 16. Meaning thereby, if I increase the radius by factor of 2, if I decrease, sorry, not increase, because you are in division. So if I decrease the factor by 2, the resistance of the blood vessel increases by 16, isn't it? If this is getting resistance, you are changing with factor 2, the resistance is getting, oh my God. Can you see the beauty, the way God has constructed? You see, he is changing the factor 2 and you are getting the resistance. So that means, can you have a hearing for me? Listen here. That means if I give someone a vasoconstrictor, will his resistance abruptly increase or not? Even if I give a small dosage, what will happen? At the arteriolar level too, there will be increase in the resistance. There will be increase in a very large amount of resistance. That's the beautiful concept of physiology. So once we give 2 to the power 4, 2 2s are 4, 4 2s are 8, 8 2s are 16. The factor of 2 is increasing the resistance by 16 and blood flow decreases by factor of 16. I have to say pressure flow resistance. Pressure flow resistance. I am decreasing the flow by a factor of 16. Can you now understand why the blood flow is decreasing? See, this was common sense also, but you could not understand the common sense of radius to the power 4. This radius to the power 4 is important, guys. Is it clear? Is it clear, friends? So if I tell you, now I give you a question, okay? I give you a question. Question is the change in the, listen to the word, the change in the resistance of a vessel is, okay, let me take like this. Let me change the concept like this. If the, this is a question, if the resistance of the blood vessel increases by 50%, this is the common usual question which every physiology class the teacher teaches you. If I increase the resistance of a blood vessel by 50%, what is the change in resistance? What is the change in resistance, guys? Calculate the change in resistance. Calculate, fine. I will wait for you 30 seconds. I increase the vessel radius. Sorry. I increase the vessel radius by 50%. I have increased the vessel radius. So there was a normal right now. There was a normal, for example, a normal vessel radius. And I'm telling you, I changed the vessel of the radius vessel by 50%. I increase the vessel radius. Listen to the word. I increase the vessel radius by 50%. What will be the change in the resistance? For example, I take the original resistance as R. Now I am increasing the resistance by 50%. What will be is equal to R plus 1 by 2R, isn't it? R plus 1 by 2R is equal to 3 by 2R. 3 by 2R. This is the way you have to do. Don't do in some other way. Otherwise, you will get the wrong answer. You may find the right answer, but you may get a matching answer, but no, you have to follow like this. You are changing it with 50%, so 50% of R you have to add. Because I told you the original resistance was R. The original resistance, that's why I told you the method is this. What you did is you did it some other way. I know what you did. In the brain, you calculate it in that way. But please use the pen. You have to first say, this is the resistance original. This is the original resistance. Original resistance is R. Now I am increasing that by 50%. That is 50% of R. That is first I will be adding this. R plus 1 by 2R is equal to 3 by 2R. So the final resistance now is 3 by 2R. Now you calculate the change. R is inversely proportional to R to the power 4. That is R is inversely proportional to 3 by 2 3 by 2 to the power 4. So R, this becomes is equal to 1 by 3 is a 9, 9 3s are 27, 27 3s are 81. That is 81 by 2 to the 4 to the 8 to the 16, 16 R. Inversely coming as it will come as 1 by 5 R. 1 by 5 R. So radius resistance will decrease by 5 times because you are getting a fractionated answer here. Resistance will decrease 5 times. Resistance will decrease 5 times. So you have to do like this. You have to do like this. First you should write, because at one point I know where, in what way you calculated it, but it will give you wrong answer. Okay. So you have to do like this. Take R, always take a quantity and then do it in that way. In that way, nothing will hide from you. Because what happens, we have a perception in brain, something is like that, and 4 to the power like this, then I add this. Okay. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone, this question? Now, in this case, if the blood vessels are in series, what we do is total R total is equal to, the total resistance will be is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3 and so on. So if I take this R1, R2, R3, okay. And if I have blood vessels in parallel, so if I have blood vessels in parallel, so I will be having the fractionated, okay. I'll be having 1 by R total is equal to 1 by R total is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by, okay, simple. This is the one concept you have to remember. So who shows us parallel resistances in the body? Systemic circulation. Systemic circulation shows us parallel resistances. See, do we remember the last time's diagram? Do we remember this diagram, guys? Do we remember this diagram? 1. Can we see them in parallel? Can we see them in parallel? That's why I built it like that last time. There was a reason. Today you can understand the reason. That's why I'm telling you, whatever way I'm making you write things, please write in that way. Okay. So this is parallel. Okay, because sir, every organ, if you check every organ, it is having a branch from the aorta, and it gives that parallel arrangement. From the aorta, branching is coming to every organ, and that's giving us a parallel arrangement. Is it clear? So I can take like this. So how I will be calculated? I will say the total resistances. If I want to calculate the total, if you tell me, sir, if you ask me, sir, what is the total resistance he is facing? What is the total resistance the heart is facing? A beautiful concept. I don't know. No, medicine is so tasty. So if you calculate this, how we'll calculate? We will say 1 by resistance in the CNS plus 1 by resistance in the coronary vasculature plus 1 by resistance in the renal circulation plus 1 by resistance in the skeletal muscles. Oh, what a concept. Every field of science is helping us to understand this, because these are all interrelated subjects. That's why they teach you physics, chemistry in the. So in parallel, we are able to appreciate that parallel is a good arrangement. Why? I will tell you. That means the resistance in the CNS, for example, is what? 5 resistances. This is 6 resistances. This is 3 resistances. You calculate their fraction. First you fractionate them, then you add them together. The total will decrease. The total resistance will decrease, guys. The total resistance will decrease. Okay. But remember, in each artery, in each parallel artery, you have an equal pressure. Remember, pressure will not change. Pressure will not change. I hope you know it from your physics also. The pressure does not changes. Okay, it's all the fraction what we are getting in total. The fraction of the blood is received by every fraction. Okay, is it clear? Now if I take a series arrangement, let me take a series arrangement. Where is the series arrangement, guys? Let me take the series arrangement. So if I take this like this, if I take this series arrangement. Now series arrangement, sir, where will we be able to appreciate series arrangement? Series arrangement, we will be mostly in the tissues. It will be mostly in the tissues. Okay, because you have small capillaries, arterioles in the tissues, isn't it? Now, for example, I have a, this is for example, this is my, for what to take? CNS I take, okay, brain. So this has an arterial supply. CNS has an arterial supply, and it has small arteries also, and it has capillaries also. It has arterioles also. These are all in series. These are all in series, and if you add them, you will be having a higher resistances. So if I take R total, this R total will be equal to R of CNS artery plus R of CNS arteriole plus R of capillaries, CNS capillaries. Are we able to understand, guys? So once we add them, you will have a bigger resistance. And you know who is giving the larger resistance in them, who is giving the highest proportion of resistance. The highest proportion of resistance is shown by the arterioles, the highest proportion. That means if you are increasing the resistance of the arterioles, and even if not capillaries, arterioles are sufficient for you to increase that resistance. Okay. And you know, if there is a big artery, whatever the largest artery is receiving, okay, whatever the blood flow the large artery is receiving, the same blood flow will be received by what? Small blood vessels. The total blood flow will be same. Whatever is the blood flow through the largest artery will be the total blood flow through the capillaries. That is a principle, isn't it? You should have that blood flow to all these places. Timing is a different thing, but the flow which you are receiving in a large artery will be, remember that, total same as the total blood flow through all the capillaries. I will understand. If this is a large artery, whatever is flowing in the large artery, that should flow in the minor arteries. There is no difference. And then where will this blood go? If I have a big artery, again I am drawing, if I have a big artery and this is splitting into small arteries, the total flow, whatever is the blood flow in the large artery, will be equal to the All these capillaries, whatever flow is going through these capillaries will be equal to this, isn't it? Flow. Blood flow, guys. I am using the word blood flow. No pressure, no resistance. I am talking blood flow. Is it clear? That's why I told you in the beginning. Again, I am reiterating. You have to study hemodynamics. Pressure, flow, resistance. Pressure, flow, resistance. But as you are moving in the series, the pressure decreases because you are at the same time distributing the blood. So as the series arrangement of blood vessels is there, you will have a decrease in the pressure. In series, there is decrease in pressure. Is it clear? So what was specific about parallel arrangement? Who was giving the biggest resistance? No. I want to say like this. In parallel resistance, what happens to the resistance? Now comparing, this is 1 by R and this is R. So which of the following do you think is the resistance? What is the resistance? Which is having the highest resistance? Is it a series or parallel? In the parallel, you will have a decreased resistance, remember. So do you want your body to have a decreased resistance in that way? Do you want your organs to be arranged in a parallel resistance, in a parallel arrangement? Do you want your body to arrange? Yeah, you want your body tissues to be arranged in a parallel arrangement so that my resistance, the total resistance, I should use the word, not resistance, I should use total resistance, that decreases. But pressure will remain same because you are in the parallel arrangement. I think from the Ohm's law you can understand. I am using that equation in my brain. Okay, so there will be pressure is same. Okay, pressure will be same. Is it clear? In series, who is giving the highest resistance? Who is contributing the highest resistance? Again, I am reiterating this concept. Arterioles, guys. What happens to the pressure in the series? What happens to the pressure of the blood? Decreases. Very nice. What happens to the pressure in the parallel? The pressure is same. Same pressure. Is it clear? Now, moving to the concept of types of blood flow. Guys, by the way, who will be increasing the viscosity? Excuse me. Who increased the viscosity? Where is that equation? Where did I write that equation? Poisson equation. Where is A theta? Yeah. Remember a concept. If I go for anemia, if there is anemia means decrease in the total count or hemoglobin. What will happen? Will the viscosity decrease or increase? Will the viscosity increase or decrease? Viscosity. It will decrease. Viscosity will decrease. Anemia decreases viscosity. What if I increase the cells? Polycythemia. If I increase the RBC cellular components, viscosity will increase. Remember. So in anemia, polycythemia, you can use these equations. Okay. What about, by the way, what about length? If you will double the length, you will be doubling the resistances. Okay. If you double the length, you will be doubling the resistances. If you halve the length, you will be halving the resistances also. Okay. But it's not, physiology we won't be discussing about this, where we have to just decrease this radius. Okay. So let me go to so this is the blood vessel and you have the endothelium. Okay. Now, if the blood is flowing, see how the blood flows is. If I take the central layers are like this, like a bullet, think like that. They're moving in straight lines, guys. They are in straight lines. Aren't they in parallel? Aren't they in parallel arrangement? Aren't they following their rules of continuity? Aren't they following their rules of path? Aren't they following their trajectory? They're following their trajectory. Okay. This is called streamline flow or laminar flow. Laminar means layer, laminar flow. This, who will tell us? Who will tell us that this is a laminar flow or is it a turbulent? Turbulent means that, see, I give another example. Turbulent means blood came here and it started going into walls, something like this. Some are going in this direction, some are. So this is turbulent. Who will tell us whether there is turbulence or not? It was given by Reynolds number. Beautiful concept. Reynolds number. Reynolds number tells us which will be having whether the blood flow is turbulent or whether the blood flow is laminar or streamline. It is said if you increase the Reynolds number, what is Reynolds number, by the way? Yeah, who can tell us Reynolds number? Reynolds number is equal to rho dV by eta. Rho dV by eta. Reynolds number. If I remember from physics, it was Reynolds number is equal to rho. This is rho. How to make rho? Rho we used to make like this. Rho dV by eta. Rho dV by eta. Re is the Reynolds number. Re is the Reynolds number. Rho is the density. Rho is the density. Density of what? Fluids. Density of fluids. Okay. D is the, this capital D is the diameter. This is the diameter of the vessel. And V is the velocity of flow. V is the velocity of flow. Eta is the viscosity. Eta is the viscosity. Viscosity. Is it clear? Is it clear? First, you have understood this. This is clear. Now, terminologies are clear. Now, I will tell you one concept. If you increase the Reynolds number, greater are the chances of turbulence. Okay. Out of the four equations, who is going to have a major important dominance on the turbulence? Who will determine the turbulence? It is the velocity. Remember this concept. Velocity is the most important determinant of turbulence. Not diameter. Both can do, but velocity does it more. Velocity is most important. Okay. Is it clear? Okay. So I will give you two values and you have to play with those values only in the exam. You have to play with those values only in the exam. The values are 2000 and 3000. If the Reynolds number is less than 2000, we say it is there is no turbulence. There will be no turbulence. If the Reynolds number goes greater than 3000, we say turbulence will be there. How much will be there? You will calculate that. But here we are saying if it is greater than 3000, turbulence will be there. Turbulence is there. Remember, turbulence is greater than 3000, turbulence is there. Less than 2000, No turbulence. No turbulence. Is clear? I want to tell you next thing. I want to tell you. Then we end the class. I want to tell you. Once you are increasing this Reynolds number, once you are increasing, yeah, yes, can say, yeah, can say laminar flow. It's usual. It's natural, common sense that once you have any resistance, then you will be increasing the. But the resistance should be resistance. You can increase the actually the turbulence because I will be telling you once you are increasing the Reynolds number, once you are increasing the Reynolds number, you are increasing the turbulence, and once you are increasing turbulence, you will be increasing some audible vibrations. There will be listening of audible vibrations. Those are called bruits. Bruits. Bruits are appreciated on. Bruits are appreciated on this turbulence. Okay. Yes, we can say that. Okay. So bruits are appreciated once you have a more Reynolds number. But we are talking in the sense of Reynolds number. There is a reason I will be telling you. But understanding that way that we can say least resistance, can say that. Okay, can say that. Okay, is it clear? Okay. Next, I want to tell you about shear. What is shear? What is shear, friends? Without using the Guyton book or opening the book, use your brain. Yeah. Right now your book should be closed. Why? There's a reason. Once you focus everything on the concept, you listen to the lecture with all your ears, eyes open at home, open the book, then you can understand more. Right now you'll be in confusion. You won't be understanding. Your brain will be getting deviated because you'll be reading the book and the brain at the same time, and I don't think anyone on this earth can do that. You have to understand the concept, then open the book at home. There's a purpose. That's why I tell you. You have to go home because you will refresh that memory. Right now you can read everything, but after 30 minutes when I ask you anything, hardly 20% will be retained. So it's important that you go home and then open the book, not right now. Okay. Just keep clearly answering. You have to make mistakes here. You have to make mistakes. You are not perfect. No one is perfect. You have to make mistakes, then you can understand. If you start saying the same thing from the book, then yeah, then it's okay. Opening a note and something. There is no fun of learning then. Okay, guys. You have to improve by making mistakes, by thinking of your own. Shear is deformation on something. Yeah, you can say that. Okay. Stress. Okay, deformity. How much you can deform something is this. So what is the concept of shear here? Shear is in this case of blood vessel. Remember a concept. There is a concept that this shear, which is produced by the, I will tell you like this. Now remember, once a blood is moving in a blood vessel, it is not having uniform velocity. Blood is traveling at different velocities, isn't it? Different blood is moving in different velocities. Think of a tube. While you are moving in a tube, okay, you took a tube, and in that tube velocities are changing, isn't it? You have gone to a tube and you have boarded a metro. What you do is there are different speeds. Think that metro, all that tube is a blood vessel, and you as a metro is a traveler of the blood. Have you seen that cone shaped face of the metro? Why? Same, it's following the principles. That's how blood is moving in the blood vessel also. They have all taken it from the medical science. Okay, so blood is moving like this. So you have different velocities of layers. Okay, you have different velocities. Fine. So once the blood is moving, the velocities are different in the blood vessel. So which is having the highest velocity. Where do you find the highest velocity? Sir, it is as a common sense. The central layer is having the highest velocity. Highest velocity is in the center of the vessel. Zero velocity at the walls. Zero velocity at the walls. Zero at the walls. Highest in the center. Highest in the center. If velocity is less, that means more time for the blood to stay. That means more highest share will be on the wall. More share will be on the wall, because the difference in the blood velocity is greatest at this point. There is a highest difference. So once you have a greater difference of the blood velocity, sorry, you will be having the highest share here. That is total zero, friends. This is highest. So the difference, since it is zero, share will be more here. Share will be more here. Velocity is zero. So the share will be more here. Remember this concept. Share will be more here. Is it clear? Share is more at the walls and lowest in the center. But velocity is more in the center, zero in the walls. Zero in the walls. Is it clear? So what is the difference we can draw between the two, laminar and turbulent flow? What is the difference we can make between laminar and turbulent flow? I told you turbulent flow was making what noises? Bruise. It was making bruise. This was a silent. That's why we don't listen to any sound. Silent. Okay. Turbulent flow. In laminar flow, what do you see? You see flow is maximum in the center. Flow is maximum in the center and decreases at the vessel wall. This is called, in the physics, this is called parabolic velocity profile. Parabolic velocity profile. When you have highest velocity in the center of a vessel and decreasing towards the vessel walls, in the vessel walls, we say it is a parabolic velocity profile. Did you see anything in turbulence? No, sir, there is no, we can't find anything. Okay. Okay, there is no such gradient. Everything is moving like this. Everything is moving in a turbulence. Everything is moving in a turbulence. Is it clear? So there is no such gradient. There is no such gradient. Since it is moving in layers, since it is moving in layers, do you want more energy or less energy? You will need less energy because it's moving efficiently. You don't need any hard work to move this. It's moving efficiently. So you will have more efficient with less energy consumption. This is turbulent. You have to work so much hard so that you can move the blood. It's moving, one's going here, one is going here, one is going here. Directions, the vectors are opposite. So you will have less efficient, I can use this much only, less efficient flow. Laminar flow is more efficient flow. What are the examples of turbulent flow? What are the examples of turbulent flow in the body? We are not reading physics, guys. We are reading medical science. So we have to apply physics here. Korotkov sounds. We listen Korotkovs. I will be teaching you in the blood pressure. Korotkov sounds. Murmur. Okay. Bruise. Arterial bruise, more specific. You'll be appreciating these sounds. I hope you have enjoyed this topic. These are the examples of turbulence. So we'll be continuing the discussion. Actually, it's a big series of lectures where we want you to clearly understand the cardiovascular physiology. Have a great hold of it. Thank you very much. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.